to the EMS world, the aesthetic of EMS.
两只然后合在一起，这样可以
All
吗？
right.
先不会
Okay,
先这样。
yeah, I think it is not a big problem. Okay, Dr. Robin? Okay.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I've never played the Las Vegas ballroom, so I'm not sure how good I'm going to be at walking around. My pointer will work, but my eyes can't see from the back. So if you don't mind, I'm going to stand up here. I'd like to say next. I get confused, two hands. The last time I talked in Malaysia was 4 years ago. In fact, the last time I talked in Malaysia, I uttered the word EMS. I'm sorry I ever uttered it. I guess because it's mostly English speaking here, it got picked up. And EMS became the term used around the world when in fact we should have been using APIS. And I honestly haven't had much to say for 4 years. We really have undergone a period of a loss of confidence. Now, 4 years ago, I was too confident. I talked about sustainability. I talked about how we had this thing whipped. And then this EMS thing came along. I lost my confidence. And certainly from the South, we used the term mojo. My mojo was gone. But today, I think I'm getting the mojo back. I think in Thailand we're getting the mojo back. CP is getting the mojo back. So I kind of want to go through our story of how we got the mojo back and what it means to you. Because if Thailand can get the mojo back, so can Malaysia. So I had a title of a talk a couple of weeks ago, and it was Understanding EMS, Can It Be Stopped? And then last week, someone told me I had to change it for today. So I came up with a new title, Successful Shrimp Farming in an EMS World. Yes, the EMS world is getting larger and larger. There used to be just 4 members of the club. Now, unofficially, I think there's at least 15 or 20 members of the club. So we really are in an EMS world today. Next. So I always started the talk with the conclusion. And this was to the talk a couple of weeks ago where it's, can it be stopped? Well, yes, it can. I took a trip to southern Thailand maybe in May of this year, and I saw one successful harvest after another. Farmers were telling me they were making more money than they did in 2010. There was a lot of success, and this just shows one of our customers, but there's others that aren't our customers, but our customers are doing well. Nice large shrimp, very profitable crops. Next. Next. And then 2 weeks ago, I took a leading Ecuadorian farmer to visit some of our farms, and he witnessed this harvest, a 54-gram shrimp, 105 days, 22 tons per hectare. That farmer's eyes are still on that farm. He could not believe 54 grams coming out of a production pond. You know, in Ecuador, he said he had never seen a 54-gram shrimp. Next. And then last week, I took another little group from DSM. We had a little meeting with DSM last week. I took them around. Another harvest, 30 tons, 1 hectare pond, 115 days, 54 grams. These are not unusual anymore. We've got our mojo back. How did we do it? Next. I think I always start from a historical perspective. History repeats. It repeats in different ways, but it does repeat. So I plotted out Malaysia. Now, the numbers may be different, but the trend is the same. We started out in 2001 at under 30,000 tons. Then Vanami comes in, and we peaked around 90,000 tons. And then we've been in a slide since then. If we remember here, what happened? Why did we go from here to here? We had to change. We had to learn, and we had to change. Next. So let's look at the deja vu. 2001, I'm going to show Thailand slides, maybe similar in Malaysia, but I'm going to do Thailand. This is what I came back to in Thailand in 2001, a failed monodon industry. It was going nowhere. Next. So we were sourcing wild broodstock, and clearly from my experience from the Americas and other places, the problem was that, the broodstock, the wild animals, the non-domesticated stock. So we changed. 2002, Thailand changed. We moved to nuclear breeding. We established several nuclear breeding facilities to produce disease-free, healthy broodstock. We then learned biosecurity against our #1 enemy then, white spot. So we put in biosecurity. And we learned with healthy shrimp, white shrimp, all of a sudden the biomasses got too big for our aeration. So we had to add more aeration. We learned and we changed and we created success. Next. So, to have success, I have one rule. It's got to be simple. Complexity doesn't work. If we want whole industries to change, it has to be simple. It has to be straightforward. And it has to be cost effective. This is what I left in Guatemala when I left the Americas. Poor quality seed, different sizes, full of all kind of unknown evil things. And so we bring in SPF to Thailand, 2004. This is a 15-day-old animal in the pond. Good success, but that wasn't enough. We started selecting. And today, at 15 days, they look like this. So we still have healthy shrimp that now grow fast. And that fast growth is basically key to keeping your costs low. But they have to live. If they die, who cares? Next. So again, I didn't read the little bottom there, but to get them to live just like they did in 2002, you need biosecurity. Our SPF animals in 2002 would die of white spot. But in Asia, we concentrate on small controlled ponds with biosecurity. So let's go through a process, because everybody says biosecurity. Nobody understands biosecurity. I've always said to have biosecurity, you have to know your enemy. We knew white spot, but we didn't know aphids and we don't know EHP. Know your enemy, and then you can create biosecurity. So, the enemy. If it dies, that's aphids. If it dies with birds, meaning they get sick, that's white spot. And if we have slow growth and high size variation, that's EHP. I learned an interesting term at the DSM meeting. It was called symptomic surveillance. So that's what I do. If I go to a farm and it's that, aphids, white spot, and microsporidium, I look at the picture and I have my diagnosis. Next. And then we need to understand. So, to create effective biosecurity, I have to understand aphids, I have to understand EHP, and I need to understand white spot. This for me is EMS. 3 diseases. Yeah, I know they don't all die early, but for me, today's issues are 3. You have to have all of them. And then we need to select genetic stocks of shrimp for the 3. And that takes some time, but it can be done. Next. So, the 3 new rules of biosecurity in the new age of EMS. Now, there's a lot of solutions. And I'm not smart enough to come up with the best ones. So I come up with general principles, and I let you come up with the best solutions. You just have to make sure you follow the principles. White spot. Okay, we know the white spot routine. Biosecurity for white spot, you got the birds, you got the water, you got clean PLs, you got to keep the crabs out, We all know that one. Aphids. It's not about exclusion of the bacteria. You can't. Don't even try. It's about reducing the bacterial food and the substrates to keep the bacterial level low. And then EHP. Biosecurity rule for EHP, clean broodstock, clean PLs, clean farm, and clean water source. I call it the 4 C's. If you got those, you don't have EHP. Next. So, we always start with clean, healthy, SPF post-larva. This is no. Okay, if your HP tubules look like this, you've got a problem that you don't want to be stocking because this type of animal is going to be sensitive to disease. This is, yes, healthy, active, low CV, low size variation, healthy HP tubules. Always start with a healthy PL. Next. Okay, I'm not going to go through the white spot exclusion, biosecurity. We all know this. I think I first showed this one in 2003. So, we know this one. Next. But we need to understand aphids so we understand why we create the biosecurity that we do. We must have threshold numbers of bacteria because of this thing called quorum sensing. You have a few bacteria that matter. They don't produce toxin. We need a certain number of bacteria to hit a threshold to produce toxin. Then we need to understand aphids bacteria grow and produce toxin on the following. Shrimp feed. If your shrimp food is in the pond too long, that's going to become a very high level of aphids and it will kill shrimp. Shrimp shells, molts. Aphids loves molts. They love chitin. And shrimp like to eat molts. That's a problem. And shrimp sludge. Basically, that's partially digested shrimp feed. So yes, aphids likes that too. And the problem with Van Amme likes all of this. They'll eat old feed. They will eat sludge. They will eat molts. Van Amme is a non-discriminatory eater. So it eats the toxin. And then finally, shrimp must ingest the toxin from the environment. If they don't ingest toxin, they don't die. So, that's really all we need to know today for aphids. With that, you can go out and create some wonderful management. Next, understanding EHP. EHP is a parasite, kind of like a virus, you need the host, but in this case, it's a fungus. So we kind of know that. Exclusion is kind of important here. It's like a virus. And EHP survives as a spore outside of a host for a very long time and is difficult to disinfect. That makes it more difficult than a virus. If a white spot viron is outside of the host, it's gone in 3 days. If an EHP spore is outside of the host, it stays around a long time. So, as it requires a host, and the only host we know at this time is another shrimp, exclusionary principles will apply. Clean broodstock, clean PLs, clean ponds, and then clean water that you use on the farm or the hatchery. All right, next. So, now usually I do the EHP last, but they say EHP is more important, and when I get to the end, I run out of time, so we never do EHP. So today I'm going to do EHP, and if we run out of time, we won't do aphids. And I won't even attempt to say this. EHP. I used to say EH, but then George says it has to be EHP to rhyme with EMS. Okay? So we'll call it EHP. I can deal with that. And you can see it under a wet squash in the HP. This is under basically 100x oil immersion. If you have really good eyes and you've learned what to look for, you can squash it and see the EHP spores in a wet mount. Next. Now, we've had microsporidium before. Usually we called it cotton shrimp, and it required an intermediary host. It required a carnivorous fish. So this microsporidium is different. It doesn't require an intermediary host that we know of. It has a much higher prevalence. Usually we'll only find this at 3 or 4% in a pond, whereas EHP will have almost 100% prevalence. And this is in the muscle tissue, and EHP is in the HP tissue. Next. Characteristics of EHP. For me, this is as good as any PCR. When an Asian shrimp starts growing slow to less than 0.15, I will almost be 95% sure we have EHP if it's an Asian population of shrimp. We will usually see if it's a higher density, we'll see a spread in size uniformity. And if it gets really serious, and we're measuring with our fine real-time PCR, we get above 10.6, 10.7, we'll sometimes see loose shells. Okay, next. Detection can be difficult, and this is the reason that EHP is the problem it is today. It spreads through the rootstock, it spreads through the PLs, and detection is difficult. You really need a real-time PCR to get down levels that are important for carriers. If we use your normal PCR, you need above 10 to the 3 micrograms of DNA. Okay, that's almost a symptomatic stage. It's a disease. But there's a lot of shrimp out there that are non-symptomatic, that are carriers, that are below 10 to the 3. So your PCR shows a negative when in fact they're positive. Now if I'm using real time, I can get down below 10 to the 1. All right, that's better, but it's not perfect. If we're using histology, I can tell you, I have sent samples to the best pathologists in the world, and they missed it. They missed it more than